It's the dead of night. Fire crackles and takes hold. The building is destroyed. There's no sign of arson, but the owner is blamed for lighting the fire.
I was under the impression that I was insured until I lodged a claim. And then all of a sudden, I'm being accused of being a criminal, which I'm not.
It's not an isolated case. Time and time again, innocent people are accused of arson, so insurance companies can reject their claims.
We just felt just astounded, and I just thought, well, this is a gross injustice.
The dirty work of finding the evidence is done not by the insurers, but by the investigators they hire.
They will commit perjury, they will tamper with evidence, they will exert influence on witnesses, improper influence on witnesses.
One investigator, arson cop turned private eye Peter Thomas, has earned himself quite a name.
I think he's a crook.
To me, you're just a slime.
He's a liar.
Just a real slime bag.
In my opinion, he's a conman.
Tonight on Four Corners, the insurance industry's policy scam. Who's liable for the people they've burned? It was the night of July the 12th last year in the town of Monto in northeast Queensland when George Nagy's new Royal Hotel went up in flames.
The night of the fire, like every other Sunday, we have had our family dinner. We picked up takeaway from the Chinese restaurant and then put a couple of tables together, and the entire family sat down for dinner.
Woke up at about 2 o'clock in the morning to have a glass of water, and the sky was bright orange. I thought it was the end of the world, actually. And about 10 minutes later, I got a phone call from a friend of mine to let me know that the hotel was ablaze. So I got in the car and took off very quickly and got to town, and it was horrific.
By the time firemen arrived, the old timber pub was engulfed by flames. Initially, there was no idea of the cause. Forensic experts said later it was most likely an electric blanket in one of the rooms. The police and fire brigade said there was nothing suspicious and no evidence of arson. The pub was burnt to the ground.
The entrance to the public bar used to be on the corner here, where you can see the concrete has been broken up. There used to be a double swinging door, just typical of a country pub.
Right. George Nagy had just spent close to $100,000 refurbishing the pub and buying 5 poker machines, which were delivered a month after the fire.
In the one night, within hours, I have lost my business, I lost my home, I lost all my personal belongings that weren't insured. I lost my family, so to speak, because my marriage broke up. So I lost everything.
Nagy kept trading in a makeshift bar set up in his old bottle shop, which had survived the fire. He lodged a claim for $608,000 with his insurer, Lloyd's of London. The broker who'd sold Nagy his policy then assigned a private investigator by the name of Peter Thomas to the case. Thomas is a former New South Wales detective who left the police force with a reputation that he's carried over into his new career as a PI.
At first, he was friendly and very smooth-talking. He was even shouting the bar to every Tom, Dick and Harry that happened to walk into the pub. He was shouting them drinks, saying this is on Lloyd's of London.
But the mood soon changed when a letter arrived from the insurer's lawyers refusing to pay, saying the fire had been deliberately caused, either by Mr Nagy or with his connivance.
Tell me the skull out of an insurance investigator.
What was your reaction when you got that letter from the insurance company accusing you of lighting the fire?
I was very angry because there is no indication. I had no motive. I had no intentions.
What evidence do they have for that?
I don't believe they've got anything else but whatever Peter Thomas may have fabricated against me.
Nagy hired his own expert, insurance loss assessor John Higginson, to look into his case.
When I first spoke to Thomas, he said that he was going to build a circumstantial case against George Nagy that he burnt the hotel down.
So Peter Thomas effectively told you he was setting out to nail George Nagy?
Oh, he told me that, yeah.
He just seemed to be focused on proving what he believed to be true at the time, and he'd made his mind up that George was guilty of arson and just wanted to simply prove that.
What was the offer that he made to you at that point?
Well, it was an offer for $10,000. He said to me that I have come prepared to offer you $10,000 if you can admit to me, or admit in court, I should say, that George had admitted to you in a moment of passion that he had lit the fire.
And where did you understand that that $10,000 was to come from?
Oh, well, I believed it was from the insurance company.
After Gina Hart rejected his offer, Thomas placed a newspaper ad appealing to a guest who'd stayed in the hotel the night before the fire. Enticed by the reward offered, the man came forward and made a statement saying he hadn't used an electric blanket in his room. Remember, an electric blanket was thought to have caused the fire. The man was paid $1,000 by Thomas for his statement.
Come on, Dick. It's very, very simple.
George Nagy has never been charged, but apparently on the strength of the guest's statement, Lloyd's is still refusing to pay. As we'll see, Nagy's story is an all-too common one, an arson claim based on false or flimsy evidence or no evidence at all, made by a dubious investigator to justify the insurer rejecting a claim.
Peter Thomas was hired to do a job. The insurers have known his reputation, and they still hired him.
What do you think the job was that he was hired to do?
Perhaps to kill the client. He was hired to kill the client. Obviously, the insurance company doesn't want to pay me. Regardless whether I have paid my premium or not, they just don't want to pay.
Well, some investigators are totally unscrupulous. And they're the ones who've got to be wiped out of the industry. There are a lot of good investigators out there who go out and do the job properly and come back with a factual report of what evidence is available for the underwriters. They're the ones that should stay in the industry.
So what are these unscrupulous operators you refer to? What sort of characters are they? Where have they come from?
Well, generally they're ex-police officers, most likely from down south, without any previous training in the insurance industry. They come to Queensland or get out of the police force and set themselves up as an investigator because they can get an investigator's licence. Then they go out to prove what a hero they are by getting claims rejected.
The investigator in this case, Peter Thomas, is the best in the business of killing fire claims. Thomas is based in Brisbane, where our researcher tracked him down. Since leaving the police force, Thomas has found himself a lucrative new career, with top insurers paying upwards of $10,000 per claim killed. A checkered police record has apparently been no obstacle, and Peter Thomas's record is as checkered as they come. Thomas left the New South Wales Police in 1991 after 21 years. He'd been the subject of dozens of complaints.
This is one more where the Ombudsman has said under the circumstances no further action will be taken. And as you see, there's a whole litany of them.
The list of complaints during Thomas's police career suggests his modus operandi hasn't changed.